Welcome, you're watching Kaleidoscope Ceylinco Life News Capsule. With insurance coverage reaching just 40% of the labor force and 60% of the population, the life insurance industry remains underpenetrated compared to regional peers. Economic pressures from rising living costs to shrinking disposable incomes have made it harder for many households to prioritize long-term financial planning. Yet, as inflation bites and traditional safety nets weaken, life insurance is emerging as a critical tool for financial stability, leading to economic resilience and inclusion. Discussing all this and more is the Executive Chairman of Ceylinco Life Insurance, R. Renganathan. What is the status of the life insurance industry in Sri Lanka and how does it differ or compare to other countries in this region?
Let me tell you about the penetration levels in Sri Lanka today. If you take the labor market, it stands at about 42%. If you take the entire population, it stands at about 16%. These percentages may be lower than other countries in Southeast Asia. Now, we as a company cater to all market segments A, B, C, D and E. However, with the reduction in the tax threshold, the increase in the cost of living, this has caused a tremendous amount of pressure on those segments. And also the younger generation, they require package policies, that they would want protection, health and return all incorporated in one policy.
How has the role of life insurance evolved when you look at post-pandemic financial planning, especially in the context of middle-income earners?
Post-pandemic resulted in a lot of insurance companies digitalizing their processes. Today, we don't get any proposals that are in the form of a hard copy. All documents are obtained electronically and policyholders are encouraged to pay their premiums electronically.
You mentioned penetration and how low it is. What factors actually impact people obtaining life insurance and why is it so low?
Sri Lankans I believe it's a culture, you don't talk too much about death. So what insurance companies do now is to advise their agents to do something called a need analysis with their prospects. It is perhaps the first time that an individual is looking at his needs, his objectives, and then he realizes that there is a need to seek protection.
What is the biggest misconception that people have about life insurance, and do you think the industry can actually do something and address that gap?
Sri Lankans usually place the purchase of a life insurance policy way down in their priority list. Both the insurance industry and the regulator have created a lot of awareness. In fact, the regulator also regularly issues guidelines to protect the consumer.
What kind of regulatory or policy changes maybe would you like to see so that life insurance can be addressed as a safety net for future generations?
The industry and the regulator has created enough awareness. They have provided safeguards with regard to life insurance. However, there is a need that needs to be addressed, and that is retirement planning. Very few Sri Lankans look at retirement planning. I mean, many of them rely on EPF, ETF and gratuity. But the way the cost of living is increasing, it is hardly enough. So I think there is a need for the regulator to look at ways and means of encouraging retirement planning.
Increasingly, we are seeing climate-related risks. So how is the life insurance industry actually managing planning to manage the long-term health, mortality impacts of environmental change?
Well, let me specifically refer to floods, droughts, which really affect the farmers, and let me look at the violent changes in the weather patterns so that this affects the fishing industry. So what we do is we encourage such policyholders to pay premiums in advance so that in the event of situations such as I mentioned, even if they do miss paying a few premiums, then they would have paid the premiums in advance and the policy would be in force.
Do you see the life insurance industry growing in the current context?
With so many companies in the industry and the awareness created, we should see the penetration levels increasing.
Did you know that Kaleidoscope is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn? And remember to subscribe, follow and like us for more.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Ceylinco Life.